El Cortez is not a message movie. It's, you know, about this man with certain personality traits thrown into a film noir story. This guy is the hero. He is the romantic lead, and yet he has these character quirks. He has these idiosyncrasies that make him a character role, make it that, I think, much more interesting for me and for the audience. You have someone who is very pure of heart, whose intentions are good, and who has a moral, you know, backbone, you know, to deal with the world. With someone on the autistic spectrum, there are certain behaviors, there are certain idiosyncrasies that, you know, you have to master and make second nature, so that you're not acting them. It was an immediate immersion into trying to wrap my mind around how Manny thought.
Front desk, Manny speaking.
It's almost like a light switch going on and off. He is removed from what he is doing physically, and which is why he has this night and day, you know, reaction when something, you know, very violent has gone down, and yet he is not affected by the residue of that violence. He's like, well, okay, well, let's just move on.
No, I'm going to take care of this.
I worked very closely with, you know, with Stephen to develop that physical, you know, appearance. And I have to say that the rehearsals, you know, were a huge safety net for me. You know, I mean, James McDaniel was at one point, use your arms, move your arms when you walk. You know? So it was wonderful to have this week of table readings and of getting it up on its feet to not only help myself, you know, feel my way through this physical performance, but to acclimate the other actors. You know, Bruce White's across the table going, okay, that's interesting. That's interesting what he's doing there. You know, and Tracy has got to do love scenes with this guy. It's like, that's how you're gonna do it? Okay, all right. You know, so it took them a while, I think, because I don't think, you know, they had any idea, you know, how far I was going to go with this. Yeah, man, you hear actors talk about it all the time, you know, and I think the general public goes, well, you get to get naked with somebody who isn't your partner, you know? Hey, that's a lot of fun. No, it's not. I mean, it's nerve-wracking, and it's you know, it's frightening. I mean, you're exposing yourself, quite honestly, you know, from head to toe. And we just, you know, all agreed we were just gonna dive in, you know, just dive into this. And Tracy was the first one who dived in, because in that scene, you know, she's nude, and you know, Glenn and I are not. And she hit the bed, and you know, with her obvious assets. And Glenn and I remember we looked at each other and went, okay. That's a brave girl. We better catch up, you know. But just, you know, knowing, and I will say this on camera, I don't drink on set, but, you know, every once in a while there's this moment where, you know, you got to break the ice. You got to take the jitters away, and, you know, so what was it? What did I bring that day? Oh, I went and got a bottle of tequila. I think it was a nice Herradura or something. And even though Glenn didn't have to get naked, he was happy to. Actually, no, he did. We got his lovely tush in the film as well. But, you know, we all had our little toast, and off we went, and, you know, fortunately didn't slur any of our dialogue. But it became sort of the, I don't know, the MO after that. What was nice is we started off with the tequila, and then I think we had the love scene after that, and we moved on to Jack Daniels, I think. I brought a bottle of Jack Daniels. And then Stephen, the ever classy Mr. Purvis, for the last love scene, which we actually shot in Reno in that beautiful sort of high roller suite, Stephen ordered up martinis. So we got class here as the shoot went on, and it was easier to take off our clothes. Ultimately, you know, I put a lot of faith and a lot of trust in Stephen, saying, all right, you know, listen, man, you know, don't let me fall on my face here. You know, I'm going to trust you to help me gauge this performance and figure out how far we can go, and you know, what works and what doesn't.
I'm Bruce White, so I play Popcorn, the guy who devises a mining scam to make money. Got started acting on a dare from the football team I played on in high school. They dared me to try out for the junior class play, and I did it, and I fell in love with it.
What was the play?
The Mikado.
What was your first big break as an actor?
avocado.
There aren't a lot of roles like this that come along for somebody my age, and when they do, they're usually taken by more established movie actors. I've been established in television for a number of years, but I have done very few feature films. So when one is offered a good role like this, one is silly not to take it. The way I prepare a script is I read it initially, then I read it again, then I usually have either my wife read it or my best friend read it, and we sit and talk about it. And then I read it again. And from those readings and from the conversation I have either with my wife or my best friend, I start to formulate an idea about how my character fits into the whole piece. Because the bottom line is that the whole piece is more important than the individual parts. I think that the character, as written, is very intelligent. Whether one gets that from my performance, that's
one does.
My feeling is that the actor's job is to bring the director as many different choices as he or she can, and one of the director's jobs is to pick which choice he prefers, and use that, or if he prefers none of the choices, to advise the actor about other choices.
Thanks for your help.
It was really amazing to work with this group of actors because they were very much into the process. For instance, Bruce Weitz came to me at one point with a suggestion. He showed me a point in the script where he said, you know, I'm going to be leaving the set on this scene and I won't come back for another 20 pages. How do I keep the spirit of my character alive when I go off stage? Which I felt was really a great observation, something that I had neglected to notice in the screenplay.
I think it's a collaborative effort. The brighter the director, the more the actors benefit, the more the director knows his material, which Stephen did, the more the actors benefit. And if you're not mustering up the right energy, the director is right off camera, usually asking you to. I'm constantly trying to improve my craft. I take acting classes twice a week when I'm not working. I've done that for the past 40 years. I just enjoy the process, and it helps me get through the times when I'm not working. So you try to grab at and use what you have at hand. Some of it may slip in accidentally, some of it may be planned, some of it you may give serious thought to, but it's a combination of all those things. You know, it's such a tough business, and I consider myself very fortunate because there are a lot of really talented people in this business. It's very, very difficult, but the advice I can give is be persistent and be committed, because those two things have a way of working out sometimes, not all the time certainly, and you have to have a little luck. But I think you have to be committed and persistent.
I remember reading that script and trying to find that character, and I remember having a small problem because when I get in front of the camera, I always like to believe that less is more. And Jack wasn't really a less being more kind of person. I remember one day we were in rehearsal and I thought, hey, you know what I'm gonna do? I wanna drink some coffee, because I don't drink coffee. Every morning when I came to rehearsal, I would get me a cup of coffee because that would spark me to have that energy I needed to find out where Jack was, because Jack was on speed and heroin and cocaine and all kind of bullshit. But yeah, you know, I dug in there, man. And then once I got the caffeine in, it was easy for me to, you know, pull it up when I didn't have any caffeine in because I knew what it felt like. I played Jack more on an honest level, on a level of like more of a caring person and, you know, being an asshole at the same time, but at the same time, you know, even assholes are caring people. You know what I mean? Even drug addicts have a human side to them. You just don't ever get to see it because most of the time when you run into them, they're on drugs. Well, I've been around people that's been in that life. I've been around drug users, drug dealers. I've been around pimps. you know, and all of these people, when it comes to their women, in some insane way, they all have a love for the women that they're with. I chose to give Jack that heart because it's much more interesting to see someone who is, you know, so far left actually live so far right in his heart. No matter what kind of person it is, it's just more of a dynamic, and that's what acting is about. When you make a character interesting, there's nothing interesting about a guy who's just running around yelling at people and being mean. You know, it's more interesting if you see this guy that you think is this, you know, insane person, all of a sudden turn around and have a really caring, jealous heart. I just think that, you know, that choice was a much more interesting choice than just the guy who's doing drugs and selling drugs and, you know, having wild sex with the girl, you know. Rehearsing to me is building a base. Anytime I get to build a base for something, it's better for me, because then there are ways I can go and things I can do that I don't get to do when, you know, someone gives me a script and I get it that day and I gotta have it that day and I gotta go in front of the camera that day. That's when I turn off. You know, and I don't mean in a bad way. I just mean when that happens, I have to turn Glenn off. Like literally turn Glenn off and just kind of let these words speak for themselves. When I was coming up in this business, I used to have like maybe 2 or 3 jobs a year. And, you know, people would see me on screen and I'd be in this movie and on that television show, and then I'd be in this movie at the end of the year. And they'd look at me like, dude, you work all the time. And, you know, and they didn't know that, you know, out of 125 auditions, 122 times, they said no. And those 3 times, they said yeah. You know, so I spent like whole years being told no. It can send you up a wall. So make sure you're auditioning more for yourself than for people sitting in the room. When I walk in a room and I have an audition, I just try and make sure that it's better than the last audition. That way I'm not auditioning for them, I'm auditioning for me.
Yeah, usually I go through the script. I read the script 4 or 5 times. I'll go through and I'll find out everything that was said about my character. I'll write that down, everything I said about my character, about myself. Anything that the writer might have put in, you know, sighs here, or, you know, shuts your eyes there, or just anything that will give you a clue. And you can throw it all out later, but anything that'll give you a clue to your character. Try and live in that world, imagine that world, spend a lot of time imagining that world. Do as much research as you can if it's a very specific time and place. And then if you do all of that research and all that homework beforehand, you can let it go and surprise yourself and be spontaneous and work with the director and the other actor, because that's like the other part of it that holds you up and sustains you, is working off of somebody.
Hey, who are you talking to?
I love to rehearse. It's difficult because when you do television, you don't rehearse much. So you have to be able to do it without rehearsing. But it's amazing when you can rehearse, because you can only figure out so much by yourself and off of the page. We interact with each other and emotions come up and things happen, and when you're with someone and you're going through it, all kinds of things come up and you find things. With Theta, I had to do a lot of my own backstory, because a lot of it, what you see is not really the truth. And so I had to answer a lot of the questions for myself. And I've used a lot of the character from the play that I did after the fall. It was based on Marilyn Monroe. Just the kind of game that she was playing, the youthful, kind of innocent,
Do you have a television in your office?
helpless, but very sexual aspects of Theta. I tried to pick up from that, and then just, you know, worked with the director and the other actors and found a lot, because we did get to rehearse.
He was always very positive. He was always very encouraging. I don't think he knocked down one of my ideas. It was a lot of fun. It was joyful, and And so with that, there was safety, and it allowed us to play.
Hello, I'm James McDaniel. I play Arnie in El Cortez. You know, one of the things that really attracted me to the film was Lou. I'd always been a fan of Lou because I really loved that movie Stand and Deliver, and I think his performance in that is extraordinary. So when I heard that Lou was involved in it, you know, I mean, that's the thing that kind of sucked me in. I think one of the big parts of preparing for Arnie, without giving anything away, was the drug culture part of Arnie, which is kind of missing in my past experience, luckily. So I had to spend a reasonable amount of time working on the whole drug thing, because in this movie, everything kind of fits together. It's all these disparate pieces, and during the course of this movie, everything just kind of comes together. This person becomes related to that person, that person, that person, that person. And this is like a puzzle movie of the highest order. Worked on that. Didn't really have to work on the cop stuff because, done so much of it.
Yes, officer.
I usually, what I try to do is objectively look at myself and then objectively look at the character. And then I try to fill in the gap between me and the character.
Doing a little prospecting, are we?
Good acting is like building a cage, okay? So you build it with is reasons. If I'm a dancer, that's one of the slats on the wall. And if he's neurotic, that's another one of those slats. And you build the cage so tight that when you have it built, you can actually go crazy inside the cage without any fear of going through the wall and flying out, you know. So I feel like it's a process of just building and building and building, because I think good acting is complex. So the longer time you have, the more complex you can do it.
Stay in touch.
At the beginning, I used to think, really learn how to do it, really study. I mean, in my case, the way that I studied was I became this quote-unquote actor, even though I wasn't an actor. But then I'm working with, Cicely Tyson, and I'm working with James Earl Jones, and I'm working with Robert Duvall. I mean, I'm like working right next to it. So, I would have said really learn how to do it. But then you look at this day and age, and it's like there's a lot of people that do quite well, and they don't have the slightest idea how to do it. So I say, jump into it, see if you like it. Everybody's not an actor, and it's okay not to be an actor. Everybody wants to be an actor from what I can see. But jump into it headlong, and if you're not an actor, the business will tell you that you're not. In short order.
My advice to anyone who wants to be an actor is have something else that you love to do and can make a living at, okay? Because the pressure to make a living as an actor is unbelievable. My preparation for a role starts when I first crack open the script. I start writing notes, whatever comes to my head, whether it's random or pertinent to the script. I just start writing notes and writing, left and right, whatever it is, and then go back later on after I've read and see if they mean anything to me. Then, oftentimes, if it's an interesting character and a bit of a stretch for me, I actually go and write myself a character history. I write the way this guy grew up. Because there's a lot of times when I'm doing something on a set and the director doesn't understand what I'm doing. I think I was handed that role because it was me, or it was in me somewhere. And basically, I didn't have to go far back, maybe to an uncle, a grandfather, that same sort of attitude. And this guy in his Western, his cheap Western wear, is really just a lunkhead from New Jersey who's trying to be, a cowboy and a player, but actually has the money to do all that stuff. So basically, I went back to New Jersey for my character, and I came out here for my wardrobe, and whatever we got, we got.
Stephen Purvis called and had a screenplay he wanted me to read, so he sent it to me, and I thought it was a very, very interesting screenplay. And so we decided to move forward with it.
Hey, Pop, who's this guy?
That was my first partner.
Well, I mean, a true producer was someone that develops a project, you know, reads an article and commissions a screenplay to be made or be written, or options a screenplay, a number of things, option a book, and then convince a studio or some financing entity to pay for a screenplay, and then take that screenplay, get it, you know, again, get it set up, financed, be involved in selecting or hiring the director and production people in order to make the film, be involved in the filmmaking on set through shooting, and then be actively involved through post-production all the way through delivery and exhibition. And so my idea is basically you have a pyramid. In the beginning, you take each scene of the movie and you put the most important scene at the top, and at the very bottom would be the least important scenes in the film, like a drive-by or an establishing shot. And so in the beginning, before you're even shooting, you keep that in mind in discussing it, so that whenever a director is talking about whatever it is the director is thinking about, that they always understand what really is important in the film, and not to put too much effort into, and money basically, into scenes that may end up on the editing room floor. So you're constantly reevaluating that pyramid or triangle as far as shuffling the scenes around. Well, then when you create a schedule, you want to make certain that your most important scene isn't at the end of the day, unless, of course, it's a sunset or something. We had made the decision, which was, I think, a brilliant one, to build the sets. And Michael Kornblith, the production designer of Apollo 13 and the Alamo and others, had designed these really marvelous sets of the hotel and various other sets and rooms like the apartment, et cetera, in a way that we could do it on a relatively small, stage, about 6,000 square feet. And that allowed us then to have far more flexibility. We didn't have to have as much equipment as far as trucks and drivers and that type of thing. I think the most fun about making El Cortez was really the people. I mean, the actors were just really amazing. They were just incredibly talented actors and really wonderful people. I mean, there was not a bad seed among them. Lou Diamond Phillips is just really an honorable man as well as an excellent actor. He does everything you could possibly imagine to promote the film and to help us move the film forward, as have the other actors. I mean, they just will do anything. That's been really incredible.
I first read a script called Three for the Devil that was written by Chris Haddock, who's a Canadian writer, has won a lot of awards in Canada for TV work that he's done up there, and really loved the script and proceeded to try and make it into a movie, which ultimately became El Cortez. One of the reasons I was attracted to the script was the characters I felt were really well drawn and unusual, and also there was a kind of a layer to the characters. You would be introduced to a character in the screenplay, meet the character, feel like you were getting to know the character, then a twist would come and you'd find out, well, they were slightly different than you realized. By the time you got to the end of the screenplay, the characters had changed 180 degrees from where they had started and were totally different from who you envisioned them to be at the beginning of the script. There's three phases to a movie. There's the film you set out to make when you have the screenplay, the movie you actually shoot, and then finally the movie that you find in the cutting room. There were certain logistics in the script that we had to work out. One was we needed a staircase and an elevator that were side by side, and they both had to empty onto the lobby within sight of the front desk. And also you had to have a visibility of being able to see from inside of the hotel out onto the street. It had to have a flat entrance so that popcorn could wheel in and out of the entrance of the hotel easily. And the Hotel El Cortez had all of these things and more. Plus they had such great architecture, it really led itself to a film noir. When you're on a location, the rooms get really small quickly, especially once you put a film crew inside a room. Pretty soon there's no room for the camera or the actors. By building sets, we're able to control our days.
Come on, don't make a mess.
A prime example of that, it's night at the Hotel El Cortez. Manny's working the desk. He has just helped repair the radiator in Theta's room. Theta is played by Tracy Middendorf. And so the back office that she's taking a nap in is actually on a soundstage in Los Angeles. But through very careful storyboarding and rehearsals, we were able to marry those two sets together, so it seems like she's actually in the back office watching Popcorn talk to Manny at the front desk, when in fact those two scenes were shot at totally different times, weeks apart. One of the things I really enjoy about the film was working with the actors. I feel like it's very important to rehearse with the actors before you go to shoot the movie. It helps everybody develop their characters, helps work out nuances. You come up with ideas that are fresh, and I love to collaborate. So I invited the actors to bring all their ideas to the table. You know, there are no bad ideas. They're just ideas I may not like, or maybe I do like. It was really amazing to work with this group of actors because they were very much into the process. And of course, Lou, you know, his interpretation of the character was very interesting. He did a lot of research and went out and videotaped different people and took his character in a direction that I didn't envision, but I thought was great. Peter, James, Bruce, Glenn, Tracy, and Lou were all just a joy to work with and a lot of fun to collaborate with.
And then fly up like you're going toward the El Cortez.
What a view!
Yeah. Guess some things money just can't buy, huh? Spectacular. I guess I don't get out that much. Salute.
Pop, what's the best route?
Oh.
Well, Harry.
It's Carlo now. So, you don't write, you don't call, you don't visit. Do you miss me?
I'm allergic to prison.
I missed you, baby.
The money.
My brother owed me a favor. Manny seems nice. What happened to Jack?
He checked out.
Where's your ring?
What are you doing?
This thing is legit. You see the samples? Gold and platinum. This thing is gonna be huge. If it's real.
Don't fuck it up, Carlo.
Let's roll!